Hey guys, Milan Tech Sales here, co-founder of Break Into Tech. Welcome to another student success story. Today, I've got an amazing student success story with Simran, who made the transition from finance into tech sales. So, with that out of the way, do you want to do a quick introduction, Simran, to people watching the video?
Sure, no problem. You mentioned I've got a background in finance. I've been in finance roles for about 7 years, and prior to that, I was in part-time retail sales roles for 7 years as well, just whilst I was studying.
Okay.
Decided to pivot across to tech sales.
That's amazing. So, just before we go into the rest of the questions, what tech sales job did you land, and what is the total package? What's the total salary for your tech sales job?
Yeah, so the role that I've landed is actually with Alpha Sense, amazing company, and the role is an SDR position, and the total package on that is 65k, including OTE, and there are shares included as well.
That's an amazing offer, and AlphaSense is really an amazing company as well. We had quite a few people interview with the company and land a role there. Let me ask you this. So, you've worked in finance for the last 7 years. What was it that made you want to change your career into tech sales? What was eating at you in your job?
I think personally for me, it was really hard to get progression. I felt like I was always being overlooked. I felt like I was progressing and I progressed really quickly, but then I'd be pigeonholed very quickly. So in terms of, becoming a finance manager or a CFO position, it would probably take me 10, 20 years.
Oh wow.
But equally, I didn't inspire to become, more senior within finance. And yeah, I just naturally in my current role, I found myself to become really close to projects where we were implementing software.
Okay.
And I was really enjoying that side to it. So for me, it was a case of how can I really leverage all of my strengths, my retail experience, my finance experience, going into fintech, and then my software knowledge at the same time, because I grew to become really passionate about that. So naturally, I headed in this direction into fintech sales.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That totally makes sense. There's so many roles in tech. You've got software engineering, project management, data analysis, like marketing, finance within tech. Why go into a career within sales in the tech industry?
100% the progression of it. There's such a clear path. There's so much you can do within this industry. And then, of course, the upside to it, I felt like in finance, my consistency and my disciplined mindset and work ethic wasn't being directly rewarded, and I felt undervalued. Whereas I feel, in fintech sales and tech sales specifically, you are directly rewarded for your hard work. So it's such a great incentive that's going to keep, being an absolute driving motivator to make sure you are working hard. So that was another thing for me. I was coming from a background of feeling really depleted to now feeling like my hard work is definitely going to be rewarded in this space, and that's brilliant. But both of those factors for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of people that we work with, they always tell us they worked really hard at university, they got a great degree, they did everything that they were told by society and their family. Get a job in finance, get a job in law, get a job in medicine. And then 5 years down the line, the progression doesn't look good, the salary doesn't look good, the benefits aren't great, and then they come to us wanting to break into tech sales. So that totally makes sense. Let me ask you this, right? How long did you know about tech sales before wanting to pull the trigger and actually get into a career in tech sales? Because it's kind of a new thing. It's not a fully fledged career in the UK. What was your journey?
I think, properly for me, I became aware of tech sales specifically for the last, I'd say, 2 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
However, it wasn't until about a year ago that I was really taking it seriously. However, I had personal things kind of going on last year, such as like getting married, etc. And I knew I couldn't make the move then. I needed stability, so I needed to keep within my role. But then, as soon as I warmed up to this chapter of my life, I thought, yeah, like, why not? Let me do it now. If I don't do it now, then I'm just procrastinating, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I mean, I joined the program back end of December. So this Christmas just gone, and I spent my Christmas and my New Year's flying through the program. And for me, it was a case of, I wanted to start the new year actively looking, actively networking, following the program thoroughly. So I came into the new year with an absolute structure. And yeah, I mean, it's now almost, start of April. And I've managed to land, honestly, my dream role with the top company that I wanted to work for.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then when you learned about tech sales and you decided that you want to get into it, why did you join Break Into Tech? Why didn't you just watch free YouTube videos and go on ChatGPT, or like go and get free advice on LinkedIn? What made you want to pay for a program to learn how to do this?
So I wanted to deliberately go ahead and invest in this because, first of all, I'd seen plenty of testimonials, and I became more and more curious, and I hadn't begun to look or apply for any tech sales roles prior to me joining the program, because for me personally, I'm somebody who loves structure. So I thought to be able to put my best foot forward, I needed to complete this program. So that I could, do the applications properly, but also be able to hold thorough conversations with hiring managers. That was really important to me because I didn't want to go in and feel amateur. I wanted to go in and feel very professional, but also that I'd been proactive about investing in my future, and that I wanted to take this pivot very seriously. I think that can sometimes be a concern to hiring managers. They think, oh, is this transition serious for her? But I wanted to actively show that this was a very deliberate and intentional move for me. And that's why, investing in it is such a benefit of doing that. And honestly, you do get what you pay for. It's a brilliant program, and it's really structured. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to land the role or all of these interviews. I mentioned to you, I've done 28 interviews in the last 8 weeks, but I wouldn't have been able to land all of those without following the program, to be honest with you. I think I would have been completely lost. And I know when I was originally thinking about it, I didn't know where to begin.
Let me ask you this. As a woman wanting to go into tech sales traditionally has been a very male-dominated industry, and it still is. So were you nervous going into a male-dominated industry? And if so, how did you overcome that nervousness to allow yourself to do this?
Yeah, so I guess my background with it being in finance, naturally that industry is very heavily male-dominated as well. And that's also been quite tough in my career. However, that's more of a very corporate and almost like a backward setting. However, with tech sales specifically, yes, it's male dominated, but because I've kind of gone through that environment already, I'm not intimidated by it. And I don't think anyone should be, to be honest. I think especially with a role like tech sales, everyone's so focused on their own pathway. You'll be learning and you'll be developing every single day, but you're honing in on your own skills and your own development. It's just that the peers around you, they may be predominantly male, but honestly, you're going to learn so much from everybody, and everyone is in the same boat. I think the nature of, when you're looking at companies, just make sure the culture's great. Just make sure there's a proper development structure there. So you feel like you'll never get left behind. But as long as you put that work in, you'll never fall behind. It's just about being consistent. And my advice to women out there, don't be intimidated by it. Tech needs more women. I think there's strengths to both males and females being in this industry. I think there's a different way that females can hold a conversation with, prospects to how a male would. However, there's there's pros to both, and there's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be, predominantly male. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even think about that being a factor if you can help it. Because you're there for yourself at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. When I first started working in tech sales, I remember, well, the third job I had at a company called Stability. I remember going in there. To be fair, it's a small company, so there's only like 150 people. In our sales team, there was like 50 guys, maybe 30, 40, 50 guys. And I remember thinking to myself, this is crazy. It's just all guys. So interesting. And then over time, there was a lot more girls. And even in the Break into Tech program, it's actually a lot more girls in the program than guys. And Alpha Sense, especially, everyone that has landed an interview there or a job, like Meghna and yourself, has been all females. Two final questions. Why should everyone watching this video today in 2026, in April 2026, the world is changing. AI is here to take over, or people think so anyway. The world is changing. There's, the economy is not great. A lot of graduates can't get jobs. AI is here. There's wars happening all over the world. Why should everyone watching today consider a career in tech sales?
Well, I think, like you've hit the nail on the head. This is the new era. There's, it's absolutely imploding. There's so many roles out there, and it's just a new skill set. And I think it's so worth everybody being more aware about it. And I think in order to keep up with the times and, the updates in tech, it's really important to be aware of these changes, and also with the new roles that are coming out because of it. And I think there's so many ways that people can, based on just doing this program, you can leverage and position your previous experience into getting into these roles. It's just about you putting that time into doing that. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone should be more aware of what's happening, and staying up to date with what's going on in the world. In terms
careers.
of roles and stability. Yeah, exactly.
I think traditional roles, if you're thinking about going into a traditional role in 2026, you should double check your research, because these traditional roles are really in a lot of trouble, aren't they? Like commercial law, investment banking, traditional finance jobs, accounting, all of it, like teaching. A lot of these traditional jobs are in a lot of trouble. I think the safest thing to do, I don't know what you think, is to get a job in an AI company or in a really well-established tech company in the world, in the age of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's one of those things that I feel a lot of people should be looking into. And I think, make the move now.
Yeah.
Or at least be aware of what's happening, because, at least in the next 20, 30 years, I don't see this changing.
Yeah.
So basically in our lifetime, this really matters.
Yeah.
And I think, if you care about stability, if you care about, having that financial benefit as well, you should be looking into this space for sure. Yeah,
we're the generation that has been impacted, and I think our kids and grandkids are going to be the people to live in an AI native world. So, it's obviously your job to make sure that your future is in a good place. Well, thank you, Simran. Thank you so much for the interview. Thank you so much for taking the time. Any final words of wisdom that you want to give before we end the call?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, if you are thinking about tech sales, 100%, like, go for it. And I definitely, I'm an advocate for this program. I feel like I learned so much from just doing it. It gave me such structure into how to find a role, how to go about it, and all the advice and feedback that I was receiving, even from the community itself, going into the recordings of the calls, like that really helped me, because I could see what other students were doing and the feedback. And you should just go for it, honestly.